So today we are going to take up another topic, which is on programmable logic controllers. Okay, in the last class we saw about PAL and PLA, right? So programmable logic controllers are slightly advanced versions, you could call it as an advanced versions of PLA and PAL. Okay, so this is how an PLA, a PLC, that is programmable logic controller, looks like. It will have several inputs and it will have several outputs. So the inputs are generally isolated by using buffers. Okay, so these buffers, there will be an input module. Inside the input module there will be lot of buffers, so that the input, it is not loading the input lines. Okay, it can take analog signals also, but we are going to concentrate on what is being done about the digital circuits. Okay, digital inputs. So it has an digital inputs, so it will have some buffers. Okay, buffers essentially isolates the input with the CPU, and similarly then there will be an PLC. Inside the PLC there are some something known as central processing unit. It's not a full-fledged computer. It does a very minimal function. Okay, you can see this is a small compact PLC. So it does a minimum computations. It can't do heavy computations. It can do basic logic operations. Okay, and then you have an output module. So these output modules could be more in most of the PLCs. It will have optical isolators. Optical isolators are nothing but it is like a relay. So when you give an power supply from here, an LED gets lit up. So that gets sensed by an LED detector, which operates and relay, and the connections will be made. Okay, so and then that basically it isolates the input and the output. Okay, so in the output module, it is not that the logical functions what we are implementing is directly given out. So there is an output module. Inside the output module, you can say there are kind of drivers, okay, which isolates, which can give high currents using optical relays. Okay, so we don't have to get into details of those things. Okay, just understand this is the block diagram. This is how it works. Okay, what essentially we are interested in, because this you might learn subsequently in your higher courses. But we just want, since we have done a little bit of digital electronics, we are interested in how these digital signals are processed inside the PLC. That's all. We are not going to understand the whole functioning of logic controller, which we might this we might take on in the next course in microprocessors. Okay, towards the end of the course. But time being, we are only interested in the digital input data and how it is being processed. Okay, so that gives a small practical application of the theory what we have studied. So inside the PLCs, this CPU generally uses something known as AND or invert, or AND invert. These are the two kind of gates which are used inside. So to understand why these AOI or OAI gates are used, we need to understand how an CMOS gate functions. So in the next 4 or 5 slides, I'll just introduce you to CMOS logic. Okay, so this is how an small inverter is implemented using CMOS transistors. Okay, so now how a CMOS transistor, there are two types of CMOS transistors. One is known as the NMOS. So if you see this, what is shown in the bottom is an NMOS, and what is shown in the top is a PMOS. Okay, so the essential how we can distinguish these two is, you will have a PMOS, there is a bubble which is placed at the gate. This is known as the gate, and then this is source drain. Okay, source drain. So a bubble is placed here. Okay, that means this is a PMOS. So the bubble also indicates that this PMOS, there is no bubble here. That means it is a positive logic. Whenever you give A equal to 1, this transistor will be switched on, and whenever a 0 is A is 0, this transistor will be switched on. So at any given time only one of these transistors will be on. It is not possible that both the transistors will be on at any given time. So that ensures that there is never a direct path between VDD and ground. Okay, so there is no short circuit, or it consumes very less power. Okay, only time when there will be path between VDD and ground will be when A is transiting from 0 to 1 or 1 to 0. Okay, so this is a simple inverter. So what happens when I give a 0 here, this transistor is off and this is on. So if this is on, what happens, whatever is the VDD voltage that is available at Y, so this becomes 1. So similarly, when A is 1, this transistor is off and this is on. So what happens is, if this is off, this is on, so this Y node gets connected to the ground. So you have an 0 out here. So this is the symbol of an inverter, which we all know, which we have done in our labs also. So is this operation of a simple inverter understood in how using a MOS at transistor level, how an inverter is implemented? Is it clear to all of you? Can somebody say yes or no? Because we are going to slightly build on this concept. So if this is not clear, then rest of the things also will not be clear. Okay. Okay. So so this is an NMOS transistor. This is a PMOS transistor. Okay. So how do we distinguish between NMOS and PMOS? PMOS will have a bubble out here. Okay. So it has a bubble. How is this transistors going to be? This is like a switch. Okay, they both are like a switch. It will close whenever this is the gate control, and this is an source and drain. It acts perfectly like a switch. So if I give 0 here, okay, this switch will be open and this switch will be closed. If this switch gets closed, VDD will be available at Y. Okay. Because PMOS, it is inverted logic. For 0 it is going to close this switch. When I give A equal to 1, this switch will become open and this switch will become closed. So you will have Y getting connected to ground, so you will have a 0 output. So you can essentially take NMOS and PMOS as plain simple switches which are operated, these two connections. Okay, it will get connected between the source and the drain, between the source, and they will be either be connected or it will be disconnected based on the inputs which are being given to these gates. For an NMOS transistor, A equal to 1 will switch on this transistor. For a PMOS, A equal to 0 will switch on the transistor, and A equal to 0 will switch off here. A equal to 1 will switch off here, and A equal to 1 will switch on here. So they are complementary. Is this aspect clear to all of you? Suchit? Okay. So this is how a simple inverter works like. Okay. Now we will build upon that. Okay. This is how an NAND works. Okay. So there are 4 transistors. Now if you see what happens if A is equal to 0 and B is equal to 0, can anybody say what will be the output? Anybody? Because these kind of questions I might ask in the exam also. One, yeah, because A equal to 0, B is equal to 0, both this switch will be off. Okay, because 0 0 this will be off, whereas PMOS both will be on. So you will have a VDD coming here, so it will have an supply voltage of 1 here, right? Okay. If A is equal to 0, if A is equal to 1 and B equal to 0, in that case this transistor is on but this is off. So still this path, the C will not get connected to ground, and A equal to 0, even if one of them is 0, there will be a path, and so the VDD, the C will be high because there is a path from here, right? In the same way, if B is equal to 1 and A equal to 0, B equal to 1 means this will be on but this will be off, but A is equal to 0, so there will be path available here. So and only in the fourth condition where both A and B are 1, in that case both these will be on, and since it is 1 1 here, both this will be off. so C will be grounded. So if you see, in no conditions it will happen that VDD is getting directly connected to ground. Okay, in all the 4 conditions you will find that there is no direct path between VDD and ground. So this is the beauty of the CMOS logics. Okay, when we see, when you might learn subsequently in your microelectronics, or maybe in the last week if I get one class, I will talk about the BJT based circuits, in which there will be a direct path between VDD and ground. In CMOS circuits, the biggest advantage is, that is why CMOS technology grew from 180 nanometer. For the past 40 years CMOS has been ruling the VLSI industry, right? It started off with 180 nanometer, it came to now we are working on 7 nanometer CMOS technology, because in CMOS technology logic circuits VDD is never connected to the ground. Okay, so that is the beauty of these kind of circuits. So is the operation of the NAND gate clear to all of you? Okay, only in one condition, when A and B are 1, C will be connected to the ground, so it will go to 0, and these 2 transistors will be off. So VDD is isolated and C gets connected to 0. So 1 1 will give you a 0. So for all other 3 conditions, okay, one of these transistors will be off, so and one of these transistors or both will be on. So in that condition C will be 1. So it works as an NAND. Is it okay with all of you? Yeah, okay. So let's see how an NOR looks like now. If you see, so the total number of transistors which are required to implement a NAND function is 4 transistors. That is why we say, if you want to have an AND, so these 4 transistors, and then you will have to put an inverter here in front of that. So total 6 transistors will be required for making an AND, whereas for a NAND only 4 transistors are required. Okay. Now going to NOR transistors, if you have 2 transistors like this here, so if you have a 0 0, right, so then both these transistors are off, and both will because these are complementary, there is a bubble out here. In 0 0 conditions, the C will be charged to 1 and both these transistors will be off. If either A or B, if any one of them goes to high, C will be connected to ground, and here one of them will get off, so the VDD will get isolated. So this works as an NOR gate, right? So is it understood how this works as a NOR gate to all of you? Okay, good. So now if I have to make an OR gate again with these 4 transistors, okay, first I make a NOR and I put 2 more transistors to get an OR gate. So this is how an CMOS gates at the transistor level is implemented. So till now we were only speaking about gates and as the building blocks. So today we have seen what is there inside the gates, how it functions. Okay, see, these are all the modern day and NAND gates and all, your 7 nanometer, whatever you have in your PC, computers and all these, they work on these kind of gates. So we got a little bit of an insight into the transistor level implementation. Okay. Now this network is generally known as the pull-up network, because these 2 transistors are essentially meant to take this C to VDD. Okay, that is why we name this as pull-up network, and these 2 transistors we call it as pull-down network, because the function of these 2 transistors is to make the ground C for a specific condition. In this particular NAND gate, the specific function is A and B. Okay, for A and B, this has to pull it down to C. So that is why we call the PMOS network as pull-up network and the NMOS network as pull-down network. So here also these 2 will be known as the pull-down network. These 2 will be known as the pull-up network. So that is the nomenclature which we generally use. Okay. Now coming to when we design a circuit, okay, suppose we have to these are known as the dual networks. Okay, this is what A, okay, this is known as A or B and C. Okay, why is it known as A or B and C? If you see, say these are all NMOS circuits. Okay, so if A is high, P will be pulled to 0, right? Or if B and C are high, then it will be pulled to 0. that is why this is known as this pull down network and does this function of A or B dot C. Is this aspect clear? Why it is known as A or B and C, B dot C? If you have a doubt, please ask me. Okay, see, this is A, this is B dot C. So if I have to implement a pull down network of A or B and C, this is how I will implement A or B and C. That is, if A is high, it will get pulled down to 0, or B and C, because B alone cannot pull down, because this is connected in series, so it will not be able to pull it down, so it is not. Okay, the complementary of this is something like this. This is A and B or C. Okay, that means either A has to be there also, and then either B or C, one of them has to be there for it to be pulled down to 0. So this is known as the complementary of this. Okay, which is P and Q is ground and VDD. Yeah, time being, we will not bothered about VDD and ground. In the next slide, we will see where to connect VDD and ground. Okay, time being, these are the two ports, just two ports. We are essentially trying to implement this function like this. Okay, so this function will be implemented like this. Okay, is it clear, Ankita?
So an AND gate requires only 2 transistors.
Pardon?
An AND gate requires only 2 transistors to be produced, right?
No. We will see the full implementation. Okay, don't jump into conclusions. As of now, we are just representing this function only in the pull down network. We will have to give a complementary pull up network also. So I am just trying to only this aspect in a limited aspect. Is it understood? How this is mapped here, how this is, only try to understand that much, and I'll in the next slide your doubts will be cleared. Is this aspect clear? How this circuit has come from this expression, how this circuit has come from this expression, only that much. If that is understood, then we'll move forward. Okay, don't think too much now in this slide. Okay, this is known as the dual of this. Okay, now let me take on the next slide so that all your doubts are cleared. Okay, now suppose I have to implement a function f bar is equal to a dot b plus c dot d. Okay, f bar. Okay, so the first thing which we need to do is, if we have to implement in CMOS, first we have to take a invert of that function. So it is a dash b plus c dash d. There is, in this specific example, there is an invert. So if you take invert of that function, you will get a dash b plus c dash d. You will get that. Okay, so that in the NMOS network we will implement it in this way: a b c d. Okay, once we have done with that, okay, we make the complementary in the PMOS. Okay, a dash b, right? Now it will become a and it will become or, and then c d, these are in series, right? So they will become in parallel here. So this is the complementary. So this is how the entire function will look like. We will connect a VDD here, we will connect a ground here. Now if you see, if a and b are and here, C and D are and here, and they are total, and then they are or here, right? So whenever a function is given, the first thing which we need to do is, we need to take the complementary of that. Once you take the complementary, you will get this. So once you get this, this will be straight away implemented in an NMOS circuit. Okay, now so this NMOS circuit will be straight away put here. Now we also need to make the complementary of this. So what is the complementary of A and B, right? And will be A or B, right? So for C and D, what will be the complementary? C or D, right? And then this A and B and C and D are or. So now we make it as an and here, and now we place it here. Okay, so this, if you see now, if you try to analyze this, I will request you to do a homework, right, and try to give the signals and different ABCD combinations, and see that what is the transistors which are going to be switched on and what are the transistors which are going to be switched off, and whether you are getting the desired function. Okay, the function is, there is a bar out here, right? If there is no bar here, then for the NMOS you will have to take a bar and then implement it in as a bar. Okay, so is this aspect clear to all of you? Now, how, if a function is given, how to make CMOS function, these things. Okay, so I am not going to put any questions from today's class for the exam, essentially because the tutorials, unless I give tutorials on this subject, I will not cover it for the final, but there will be, definitely it will be there for the final exam. Okay, so in the final exam there will be some functions which will be given, and you will be asked to make an circuit like this, okay, based on the time. So for that, in the next, in the coming week, on Tuesday, we will probably have some tutorials on the memory. On the memory we didn't have a tutorial, so on PLA and PAL and ROM implications, you will have a tutorial. So that tutorial, since that tutorial is covered, that portion will also be there in the T3 exam. This will be there for your final exam. So to further build on this concept, in the tutorials I will add some problems on implementation of these circuits. When a function is given, how to implement it in the transistor level. Is it okay to all of you? Right. So that is why CMOS logic, if you see, even complex logic circuits can be easily implemented. Okay, so like I am working on a transistor level, and most of my research are on a transistor level. So there, for whatever is the complex equations and all, we try to simplify it and get it into a transistor level of optimization we do. Okay, so there is the sizes of these transistors and all for different circuits, it will be different. So that much detail we need not to go. So I am working at that level. Okay, for you all, at least if a function is given, how to make a schematic. So so this is for a custom IC design. Okay, custom IC design means like you have your microprocessors. Inside the microprocessors, it has to implement a full adder, half adder. So if you see with CMOS, you can implement a full adder also. If you write the number of transistors and all, so you will be able to write that equation, A plus B plus C XOR, or writing the minterms, you can make an transistor. So generally it will take, for a full adder, it will take 26 transistors, 28 transistors to make a full adder. Okay, so whereas if you are trying to make it at gate level, with gates, if you are trying to implement with an XOR gate and all, it will take large number of transistors. So at transistor level you can do optimization, but that is only for full custom ICs, wherein you work at the transistor level and that IC is made. Okay, but for an industry, it is not always possible to go for full custom ICs. So this is an example. See if you are going to make this with a NAND gate. Okay, this is an NAND gate, this is another NAND gate, and again one more AND is also required. So at least you will require 12 transistors, and there will be 2 gate delays, because this is one gate, this is one gate, and then you have OR one more gate. Whereas when I am implementing it directly, you will find there are only 8 transistors which are required, and this whole thing becomes a single gate. So when I am implementing it with a transistor level, so there is only single gate delay. Whereas if you are trying to use NAND and NAND operations, NAND or NOR gates, you will at least, there will be 2 gate delays, and there will be more number of transistors required. So this is just an example of how we can simplify the functions when we are doing full custom IC designs. Okay, and the interconnects are also reduced, because this becomes very compact. Okay, whereas you are using an AND and NAND gates, then it will become very complex, right? So so in so some we have like PL. Now coming back to PLCs, so the PLCs are not custom ICs. Okay, so those PLCs they take digital input and you can program it for certain functions, like we programmed the PLAs and PALs. Similarly, you can program the PLCs also. To it will take certain inputs. Okay, so it can take it has got very inputs that is coming from various sensors, and then based on the sensing input, so it will give an output. Okay, and typical example I would say, say a big generator which is running. Okay, so it will sense whether there are whether the output load current is beyond a certain level. So there could be one sensor which is sensing, okay, it is going beyond this level, so it will give an one input. It could give an input about the frequency. Okay, so the PLC, so if I go back to the PLC, let me go back to this PLC. Okay, these are all the inputs, these are all the inputs. So one input could be the frequency of the generator. If the generator is drifting from the desired 50 hertz frequency, so that input can come, which can adjust the output. It could be the overload current which is going. It could be the temperature of the oil system of the generator. Okay, it could be that example. And then there could be some vibration sensor also, because if it says there is some mechanical damage or something, it will start vibrating. So that vibration can be sensed. Okay, and similarly there could be many other sensors. Okay, like there could be some insulation of the windings which is being constantly monitored, that can come as an input. So you can make a program based on these inputs, you can either switch on the generator or switch off the generator, or adjust the field currents so that the frequency is maintained. Similarly, the output voltage also can come as an input. Okay, so if the output voltage is increasing or decreasing, you could adjust the field currents. So these are all the PLC, you can program the PLC. So inside the PLC, I said for the digital part, we are having an two kinds of gates. Okay, complex gates, which is known as AND or invert gate, and OR and invert gate. Okay, so why these gates are preferred inside the PLC is because when we, this is how an AND or invert gate is implemented. Okay, in CMOS logic. So if you see A and B, C and D, or an invert of that. Okay, so this is the gate which is implemented in the CMOS. The layout of this is pretty simple. Okay, so when we fabricate it in IC, you will find it the fabrication is very simple. Okay, so the layout looks very compact, and that is the reason these kind of gates are generally used in PLC. Okay, so a AND or invert, and there is another gate which is OR and invert, which we will see in the next slide. So these two kinds of gates are used in the PLC because of the ease of fabrication. So I have just shown you how easy it is to fabricate it. Okay, the layout. So this is known as the layout. You don't have to understand all these things in depth. Okay, so I am just giving you a rough idea about it. Okay, so similarly you have an OR and invert gates also. In the OR and inverts, you will have a lot of OR gates, and then you will have AND gates. So these are the OR gates, AND gates, and out. Right. So there are two types of gates which are used in the PLCs. One is AND or invert, and the other one is OR and invert. Okay, so these will look like this, and the AND or invert will be exact. There will be AND gates, and OR and an invert. So these kind of modules will be available here in the PLC. Now if you see, if if you have to implement a desired function like this, suppose this is the function f dash is equal to a dash b dash plus a dash c plus b dash c. If I have to implement this in PLC, right, what do I do is f dash is there, so it will have an AND OR and invert. So I have to this invert will be taken care of. So f f bar is given like this, so f will be, so that you will have to put one more invert out here, right, this function, and an invert out here, right. So this invert maps here, and then you have these AND gates available here. So you will put a dash b dash to this AND gate. There is one more AND gate, a dash b dash, and an OR gate here. So this will get mapped like this. So these kind of gates are available in the PLC. Okay, this kind of gates are already available. This is a module. So you can just in the software program you can just pull down. So I have a next slide here. See, these are the gates. So this will be the kind of drop down menu. Like you have an LT spice, we take components, right? We take components and put and do the interconnections. Similarly, it is very similar to the program what we did in LT spice. Here we can pull down this instance in totality, and or invert. Similarly, this will be like you have AND gates in LT spice. Similarly, when we do the programming of PLC, like we have used LT spice, it will also, this is a electrode depot PLC. There is, every PLC will have its own driver or a software. So once we use that software, we will be able to pull down these modules and interconnect them. So while doing the interconnections, this is AND gate and OR gate, this is OR gate and AND gate. So these two kind of modules will be available in the PLC controllers, okay, software. So if a function is to be implemented, if say this function is to be implemented, so we take f is equal to a dash b dash plus a dash c dash. So if you see this particular function, so this invert is here, these OR are this, and these AND are, these are the terms which we use here, right. Similarly, suppose we have a function something like this, f dash, it is given like this in this manner, then we take an invert of that. So you get a function like this. So in this case, since it is an in the form of OR AND, so we take an OR AND gate from the menu. We'll pick up this particular gate from there and give these min terms. Okay, so this is how inside the PLC this they use AND OR and OR AND gates. Okay, and to implement the various functions. Is this aspect clear to all of you? Okay, this is not part of your syllabus, because I didn't want to start a new portion and an important portion of sequential multipliers and divisions. So I had some spare time, so I just took up this PLC. Okay, so in this particular lecture, what is important from your examination point of view is to understand how to design a CMOS logic. If a function is given, how the CMOS logics are implemented. Okay, so how these so I'll give you a tutorial. I will assign a tutorial also for this, so that these concepts will become very clear to you. Okay, but for you, for in future, when if you are working on PLCs, if you get an opportunity to work in PLCs, okay, being an electronics engineer, so I have just introduced this topic, so you don't have to be very much scared about what a PLC is. Okay, it is very simple. It is like we use the LT spice, we take the modules, various modules. Similarly, PLCs will have this AND OR invert modules, so it will also have OR AND modules, these modules. So once you pick up these modules to program it, if a function needs to be implemented, so this is how we implement these. This function is implemented here, the first function which is given here is implemented using AND OR. The second function which is given here is implemented by using OR AND. So this is just two ways of implementing things out here. Is it okay with all of you? Can anybody say okay? Okay, so don't think things are going a bit complex in nature, right? Because last two lectures I knew I am just going a little bit overboard. Not everything is really essential for you. but I am just giving you a rough idea, so it remains in the back of your mind. Okay, I am just trying to relate few industry things also into these lectures. So this will not be part of your whatever things is not going to be part of your examinations, but this is essential because tomorrow if you are going to work in a field, you will at least remember, okay, we learned something like this in digital electronics. So you will be comfortable then, okay, because you will not be blank. Okay, so that is why I have just introduced a few practical aspects into these things, but this is not part of your exams, and you will not straight away find these things in your textbooks also. So don't try to open your textbooks and search for PLC design and or invert layout and all. Okay, so these things will not be available in your textbooks, so don't waste time on that. Okay, just listen to this video and let it remain. I am sure it will remain in the back of your mind when you are appearing for some interviews and all, or when you are working in an industry. Okay, the only important thing out here from examination point of view is these implementations. Okay, and this is not going to be there for T3, it is going to be only for your final exams. Before that we will do a practical, we will do a tutorial on this. Okay, so that's all for today, and prepare well for your exam. Tuesday I will not talk anything new. We will have a doubt session, so that any doubts which you have, so use this Saturday Sunday to go through the video lectures and slides. So if you have any doubts whatsoever, we will tackle that on Tuesday, so that will clear all the your doubts, and Thursday you will have the exam. Saturday is going to be Diwali, and then in the next week I'll take up a new interesting topic which will be slightly easier but interesting for you. That will be sequential multipliers, Booth's algorithm, signed Booth's algorithm, and then maybe in the next class it will be unsigned Booth's algorithm, and then we will take sequential division. So after Diwali, the next 3 classes is going to be an interesting algorithm based classes, which is important for your final exams also, because there will be some questions based on those algorithms in your final exam. Okay, so that's all for today. I have finished. If you have any doubts, I'll take on. Is there any doubts? Anybody? No? Okay.